Now I know I'm about to sound like a 90-year-old puritanical preacher as I go on this rant, but whatever happened to being fully clothed in public? Whatever happened to just common decency, right? A respect for one's own body, projecting yourself out into the world as just halfway decent. I'm not even talking about, full garb or whatever it may be, which some people may even see as repressive in this modern day and age. What happened to just being clothed? And I'm talking about as much in the streets every day as on social media. Like, what is the problem with having all of your clothes on? It's as if you can't go online, and just go on a stroll. Just, like it's just like you would stroll down a pavement, a sidewalk, a street somewhere in your local town. You can't take a little stroll through social media without seeing somebody just fully blasting their assets out into the world, or, turning on a television and, watching that new series, or maybe that new film that came out, or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, you got to skip through parts. As an adult, you got to skip through certain parts. You're like, what the hell are we doing here? What is this? Right? They got to create platforms where they literally recommend movies that don't have nudies in them. We have gotten to a place as a society where we have normalized things to an extent where if somebody is modest, that's the outlier. Like my lady, she's a modest individual and she does that intentionally. She does that consciously. She's beautiful and she's, crafted in a beautiful way, but she doesn't have this need for external validation or whatever it is. And so she cloaks herself in fully clothed, fully, all the time, right? There's no excuse for, I just want to look cute, so therefore no, no, no. It's, we can be modest in all spaces and places, right? And there are some who have that mentality. I've seen in prior videos where I may have talked about modesty and things of that nature. It's a beautiful thing to see that there is now a counter movement to this. But the fact that there's a counter movement means that the current status quo culture has accepted this way. Now I remember seeing a video of a woman who I guess was like the the pink or the white Power Ranger or something like that. And she was on a platform with the creator of live action. I forget her name. Lily Rose. It's Lily Rose. I don't forget her name. Don't doubt yourself, folks. Don't doubt yourself too soon. It's Lily Rose. So they're going back and forth, and this lady is explaining how essentially, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., that a bathing suit was the status quo. Like if you were going to the beach, you wouldn't see bikinis. Bikinis were outlawed in essence. Like if you were, showing your tatas and your babas and whatever it was, that was seen as public indecency. Now, some people think that is such an outrageous thing, but that was for decades on end, right? People weren't walking with the cheeks out. Like you weren't just open lingerie on the beach in that way, right? The dudes weren't out there wearing the damn speedos with the junk on. Like that just wasn't the way we carried ourselves. There was a level of integrity. Now, am I saying that the people were perfect and there were, these puritanical, virtuous? I'm not saying that everybody was that, but at the very least, what was acceptable in the larger culture was to be modest. And surprise, surprise, like I had to go back to old school pictures to really see, oh yeah, you actually can go into the water without having your lingerie on. Like it's actually possible to do so. But then there was a shift that came, and the man, yes, it was a man, of course, just like Victoria's Secret, right? It was a dude. There was a whole song about it. There was a man who then created the scantily clad version of a bathing suit, now known as a bikini. And this very same man was looking to market his new product. And they said that it was so controversial that the only people who would model his clothing were 304s or streetwalkers, right? Professional S workers, as they may say. Those are the only people who are willing to wear those clothes because they were used to wearing little to nothing. They were used to a life of immorality and things of that nature, right? Modesty wasn't in their world. As a matter of fact, a lot of the modern clothing that some people deem as sexy or whatever it is actually comes from that lifestyle. It comes from the streetwalker culture. It comes from what we now refer to as the 304 culture. That's where that comes from. Yeah, normal, sane human beings, those who are not on the outskirts, on the margins of society, wouldn't be caught dead in any of that. And speaking of that, this little kitty will be caught alive outside. Let me go ahead and make sure she gets some fresh air out there. I'll be back. There was a time where we actually respected ourselves, and that's the true core of the message here, right? It's about self-respect. Now, I came out of, I guess you would say, maybe the quote unquote relationship space. I used to make a lot of content just interfacing with relationships, more specifically, how we need to change, transform, or, live in a more authentic way, how we need to deal with certain traumas, et cetera, to have the best relationships possible. If you look at relationships just as an external thing, they need to change, they need to do this, then you're missing 80% of what a relationship actually is, right? It is about us at the core. So I used to speak on these things and I would get questions like, why don't these men take me seriously? Or, I don't understand why they ghost, da da da. Now, there's a multitude of reasons and I can never make anything a blanket statement. But when I started getting deeper, I started realizing that there weren't all cases of, oh, every man is a narcissist and every man is a problem. And there were some cases where there was a serious man, right? A man who actually was looking for a wife, ready for it. But he would be exposed to how a woman was presenting herself to the world. Now, this may offend you at some level, but it's the God honest truth. And the truth itself would be offensive enough. I ain't even got to trigger you, on purpose. The truth is just going to do its own job. But there would be, let's say, if you go on a first date or whatever it may be, or even better off, you just meet somebody, they meet you, you exchange contacts, whatever it is, and they haven't seen your social media. Then you go on a first date, wherever it may be, and maybe you exchange social medias. Then I don't know. Again, I don't know how they're doing it these days. I'm real old school when it comes to these type of things. I would rather interface with you like this. But let's say that's the situation, and then all of a sudden the interest wanes. Now, in more cases than not, it's they're unserious, they're not ready, they're uncommittal, they're emotionally unavailable, etc. And that may be a case. But there's some cases that I've witnessed where a dude is exposed to, wait a minute, she's kind of just out there, right? I mean, to the extreme, there are chicks who are doing OF and things of that nature who want to just be accepted. I deserve a relationship. They shouldn't care that I'm selling my body for, $10, $5 a month or whatever it is to subscribe. They shouldn't care about that. They're insecure. So now you're trying to shame somebody into accepting something that is actually a display of a lack of self-respect. Again, I don't care what you put on it. And this is included with dudes who, there's dudes who wear the tightest grip in this, whatever. You go into a gym and you're like, where are your clothes at, bro? Like, you got the shorts are this big, tight as hell. You trying to show bold, all kinds of stuff going on. You got a little thin strip. Like, I like to wear, the tank tops. I like to call them that instead of the other term that is oftentimes used. I like to wear those when it's hot as hell. I like to wear those when it's certain weather outside or whatever it may be. Oh, absolutely, I'll do that. But if it's not that, then, I don't need to show you what I got going on here. Why do I need your validation as to what I look like? It's always about validation. It's always about being seen and being perceived in a certain way. It's always about attention. And I'm not saying you're evil for wanting that attention, but you got to check yourself to say, why is it that I'm so thirsty, so desperate for this attention? If you're posting something for the masses to consume, which is what you're doing every time you post something on social media, you want attention. Is it bad to want attention? Absolutely not. There's positive and there's negative attention. So when somebody's putting out a piece of content like this, or my girls, put, pictures of aesthetic and things of that nature, that could be deemed as a positive garnering of attention, right? But if you're out there putting your assets out there, you need to be shirtless every picture, taking pictures of the abs or whatever it is, fellas. If that's what you're doing, you're looking for attention. And oftentimes it's going to be negative attention because people are looking at you as an object. Folks out here talking about, oh, I'm getting objectified. In more cases than not, individuals begin to objectify themselves. And I'm not saying that this is a justification for, some situations that happen when people are, acting inappropriately and these type of individuals need to be locked up underneath the jail. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the assault or whatever it is that you may have gone through. I'm sorry for those things. But I'm talking about as now adults, we're making decisions and hopefully we're even able to be this inspiration for the kids. Like imagine being a mother who is dressing scantily clad. You're dressing like a streetwalker. Your daughter's watching you. Your daughters are watching you. Your nieces are watching you. And they start to dress like you. And you figure out later in life, when you finally come to common sense or some level of sense, a sense of self at least, you realize that the reason they're dressing like that is because they saw you doing that. The reason why they're running around looking like little streetwalkers is because you were doing that and never checked it. Why didn't you check it? Because you were doing the exact thing. How are you going to check somebody for doing something that you are actively doing? What happened to just simply putting some clothes? What happened to that? What happened to mystery? What happened to, leaving it all to the imagination? Whatever happened to that? And for the people who make the excuse of, well, men are going to look that way anyway. Well, people are just going to sexualize. Look, if there are already going to be people who do that anyway, then why fuel that fire? I had to be honest with myself. If there's going to be people who look at me and want to think criminal thug, whatever, why am I going to grow out, some real long dreads, unkept, this, that, and the third? You know what I mean? Put on whatever it is, 30 chains on. They're going to have some sort of connotation there. And that's not their fault. It's just pattern recognition. The likelihood of you being this type of person because you display yourself in this type of way is how people perceive you. You may want to shame them out of that belief system, but it doesn't change the facts. If you got your whole butt out on the internet, and a man who's serious sees that, he will not take you serious. That's the God honest truth about it. But he's shallow, he's insecure. Look, call him whatever you want. That's simply how he's going to perceive you. You can't shame him out of it because he's got too much respect for himself, too much dignity. Just as a woman who is not willing to put herself out there, she got too much self-respect. She is not willing to self-objectify. If you look at her a certain way, so be it. Like my girl, she's a beautiful woman. She's just going to be looked at because she's beautiful. It just is what it is. But it's never going to be because she put on something that's hugging and doing all that. There's no need for that. There's no need for this excessive amount of attention. If you're somebody who is perpetually looking just to have eyeballs on you, and if they're not on you, you feel some type of way, that's a problem. And you're watching this likely by yourself, so you can actually self-investigate. Maybe if you're around people, it's a little more, you put on a mask like it's not you, but you know what I'm talking about. You may be going through this. I'm not even looking to shame you, none of that. It's to speak life into you, to say you don't have to do this. You don't have to live a life where you are consistently looking to be validated by somebody, man, woman, or otherwise. Because they ain't just doing it for the boys out here. A lot of y'all doing it for the other females. You got the caterpillar eyelashes in. You got the damn lace fronts, lace backs. You got all kinds of stuff going on. Your lips swell up like bee stings. You done shot up your face. You got all types of fake biddies. You got a BB. You got all this going on. You're a whole nother person. You're a character. You're a created character from a video game. And you go out in life and you are deeply insecure. It don't matter how many different procedures, surgeries, it don't matter what you do. You never feel good enough. You never feel adequate. So you think, okay, I want to get some attention like them girls are getting some attention. And don't get it twisted. You're going to get some attention. A crackhead can get attention on the side of the road, popping off, tweaking. A crackhead can get that attention. But what is the purpose of that attention? Whose attention are you getting, right? You can get attention is not love. That's a false equivalence to say if somebody's paying attention to me, even if they're catering to you, they're pandering to you, they're flattering you, right? A dude can see just a round old thing and he is so hypersexualized that all he's going to see is one thing. All he sees is one thing. And if you are putting yourself out there like that, and then all of a sudden you get finessed out them draws, first and foremost, why you giving the draws up so fast? And secondly, of course you did, because that's all he took. He didn't take you serious. There might be some girls who are dressing modestly and are for the streets, but damn it, the projection, you just will never know. That's why I always say you have to vet for somebody's character. But somebody's character is 9 times out of 10 going to show up in the way that they present themselves. You're not going to have somebody who has integrity, dignity, who has moral compass, who has a certain level of values that is also going to be dressed up like a Tatiana. You're not going to have it. You're not going to have a man who truly is a man. He is rooted in those foundations, not of 6 pack, 6 foot, 6 figure, six, not all that garbage. I'm talking about a man of integrity, a man of God, at least has some level of relationship with the Most High, right? Who has a moral compass that is solidified. If you're dealing with that dude right there, he's not going to be the one on IG like this with his damn shirt up, abs out, always trying to get. That's a little boy looking for attention. Please see me. Please see me. Even this is a little, little fake little chain, whatever. I just want to throw something on. But you're never going to catch me with a 30, 40, 50 chains on. I say the more money that I started to make in my life, and I'm talking about significant amounts of money, the more simple I got. I have, a few of these long sleeve black tees, black hoodies, black shirts, gray shirt, white, whatever, real basic stuff. Black joggers, white joggers, whatever it is, real basic stuff. Because I don't need that level of attention. I don't need you to validate me. I don't need to be somebody through what I wear. I want to be somebody based upon who I am, my character. I want my value to be perceived through what I actually deliver. You understand me? Now, my worth is inherent, just like your worth is inherent. That's a God-given thing. But the value and the perception of value is going to be through what you actually add to society. So if all you're adding is your assets, your behind, your tatas, your body, your junk, like if that's what you got to give to the world, then that's going to be your value. It starts and ends there. But I'm deep, I'm introspective, but I'm quirky, I'm funny. Nobody cares about none of that if what you are putting first is the physical. Whatever bait you use is the bait that is going to attract whatever it is, right? If I put salmon bait, it's going to be salmon that are attracted. If I put bass bait, it's going to be bass that are attracted. So somebody who's just looking for cheeks, they're going to put the bait out, that's what they're catching for. You might be real intelligent. You might have so much going on. An individual like a Pamela Anderson, she had so much more to her character, right? Marilyn Monroe, so much more. She was a very intelligent young woman, etc. But she put out to the world, she projected an image of somebody who was a scantily clad. Ooh, Mr. President, you know what I mean? Dress blowing all up, being all salacious. And what did she get? Well, she got a reputation as exactly that. That's how the world perceived her. People saw her as a jump off. People saw her as something to do as opposed to an individual to actually experience. And so people are searching for these relationships while portraying themselves as just surface level and wonder why you can't get depth. You only get depth when you show up in the world as depth. It's that simple. I'm not saying you have to put on a fake whatever it is. There's a lot of beautiful, modest things that you can, garb yourself in. So infinitely. I'm not just saying you have to be wearing, unless, that's your thing, to wear a hijab and, the entire, you can't show ankle. Now, I'm not talking about any of that. Y'all know what I'm saying when I say modesty. Some people try to play this game with me because they want to justify their ways, right? They want to justify their ways. This is how we end up getting Kanye at the Grammys with wifey literally having nothing on, because it's like attention bears a more extreme need to get attention, bears a more extreme measure to get that attention. And it's the cyclical thing. So you first have, from a bathing suit, you now have a bikini. From a bikini, you now have 2 damn strings right here and 1 string in the middle right there. And then all of a sudden, you just got nothing. Now you're just, uncensored sensory over there. You just like absolutely, you're just got nothing on, right? You're beyond good now. You're in public eye, kid looking around the damn corner, public indecency. And and that's okay. And that's normalized. And the only way this goes away is, a healthy shaming. I'm not talking about having to shame your past, having to shame that. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about a toxic shame where you just bear and carry this thing, but enough of a shame to correct. There's a level of conviction that happens, a level of remorse that we experience from betraying ourselves, right? Betraying the godhood, the humanity within it, betraying these elements of ourselves. Going out into the world and being a people pleaser is just as much. I had to forgive myself for going through life as a people pleaser and abandoning myself, betraying myself at the most fundamental level, lying to myself, doing things I didn't want to do, saying yes when I meant no, continuously having to show up with a mask on or a multitude of masks on in order to be acceptable. But I forgave myself. So there was a level of shame there, but it led me to make a change. That's why we use shame as a tool. That's why humans have the capability of it. You know, we can take it to the exaggerated other end, but the healthy side of it is saying, you know what? I likely could be doing better. I'm likely doing things that are not actually conducive of serving me in the highest way. And I'm not serving the next person, the next person. You're not doing anybody a service, let alone yourself. You're doing yourself the deepest disservice, because the world will accept you as what you put yourself out to be. And 9 times out of 10, who you project to be is at some level a semblance of who you believe yourself to be and what you believe yourself to be worth.
I used to be afraid of the dark, place unknown like a hardening heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.